Welcome to the Knights of Columbus 2009 flag retirement ceremony. Please be seated. My name is Joe Hanneman of Monsignor Anthony G. Weiler Assembly 1207 of the Knights of Columbus. We gather here this evening to provide a reverent and dignified retirement for these symbols of American freedom and liberty. Before we get started, I'd like to invite all of our military veterans to stand up. Anyone who has served in the armed forces. It is you who make this day possible. We find each of you and your departed brothers and sisters intertwined in the timeless threads of old glory. On behalf of the Knights of Columbus, I thank you for your service. Now I will call on Father Joseph Stoba of St. Rita Catholic Church for the invocation. Father Joseph is a past chaplain of Knights of Columbus Council 697 and a 4th degree Sir Knight in Assembly 1207. And just last week, he celebrated his 50th anniversary of ordination. And congratulations, Father.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you. This evening, we celebrate freedom. The freedom to walk about wherever we want to go from city to city, state to state. We're free. We celebrate the freedom of speech, the freedom to express our own opinion, even if it's opposed to the opinion of the political administration. We celebrate the freedom to worship God in the manner in which our conscience and our beliefs predict. We celebrate freedom. We are so blessed. And the flag is the symbol of freedom. I'm going to even call it a quasi-religious symbol, because the freedoms that we have are not conferred upon us by the state or the government, but upon us by God Himself. We are born to be free. There are just so many countless men and women who have suffered, who have died to preserve those freedoms, and the flag has been their inspiration. There are so many people who live in oppressive nations, countries, cultures, and they long for the freedom that we have. And when they come here to the United States, that flag means so much to them, that symbol, the symbol of freedom for which they long. And so we treat with reverence and respect the flag. It's just a piece of cloth, but it has such deep meaning and symbolism for us that we treat it with respect and reverence. And one way, a traditional way of retiring a flag, is by burning it. We burn it so that it doesn't look like a flag anymore, and it cannot be desecrated by anybody. And we burn it also because those ashes return to the earth, back to the earth again. And so we call upon God here, who is the giver of all freedom, to bless our assembly here this evening, to bless all of us, to bless people throughout the entire world, that they may have and celebrate the freedoms that we have. And we bless all of us here, particularly our young people, who have come here to learn the respect and the proper retirement of the flag. And may God bless us all.
We dedicate this ceremony in a special way to Father Raymond J. Mahoney, a former chaplain of Council 697 here in Racine. As a young priest, Father Mahoney brimmed with love for his church and his country. He wrote and spoke most eloquently of patriotism and the flag. His audiences numbered in the hundreds and even thousands who gathered over the years to hear his poetic truths on how closely linked are the love of God and the love of country. His words greatly influenced what you will hear tonight. Father Mahoney left us at the tender age of 38 in September 1933, but his sentiments still echo through time, and I pray he looks down upon us today with great favor. Throughout 233 years of our nation's history, Old Glory has been a beacon and a promise, an inspiration and a proclamation of all that is good in America. She flies proudly over our seats of government, our schools, parks, and private homes. Many heroic men and women have died defending her and the country she represents. I call your attention over here to the empty chairs in front near the podium. These chairs sit empty in honor of those soldiers who cannot be with us today. One such hero is Master Sergeant Brian Naisman of Racine. Master Sergeant Naisman died May 22nd, defending this nation in Iraq while on duty with the Wisconsin National Guard. Please join me in a moment of silence in memory of Brian Naisman. Please keep Master Sergeant Naisman's widow, Peggy, and their two sons in your prayers. Let me take you back to Saturday, April 20th, 1861, a bright sunny day in Racine. At the dawn of the War of the Rebellion, the pastor at St. Patrick's Catholic Church made a bold statement for love of God and country. Just after daybreak, Father M.W. Gibson hoisted the American flag onto the spire of the old St. Patrick's Church. There it waved in the breeze, the symbol of freedom, right next to the cross of Jesus Christ, the author of freedom. That afternoon, 1,000 people gathered in Market Square in downtown Racine and marched across the river to St. Patrick's to cheer the flag and thank Father Gibson for his patriotic statement. Appearing at the church entry, Father Gibson implored the crowd to remember that the country for which their forefathers lived and died was calling to them. The time had come, he said, to answer that call. And many of them did, taking up arms to defend the flag in America's bloodiest war. We are all called to remember the sacrifices made in blood for the flag in our national honor. Edward Gillen Sr., one of the founders of the Knights of Columbus in Racine, served 3 years in the Civil War with the 22nd Wisconsin Regiment and was held captive by Confederate forces in the infamous Libby Prison. In his twilight years, Gillen urged his fellow citizens to remember the sacrifices, quote, that made it possible for us to live and do business under the glorious Stars and Stripes, a flag that is respected by every nation on the face of God's green earth, honored and looked up to by many. Who among us could forget the image of 6 of America's finest soldiers planting the flag atop Mount Suribachi on the island of Iwo Jima in February 1945? Those brave men, including a young Navy corpsman named John Bradley from Antigo, Wisconsin, forever embody the spirit of the Stars and Stripes, captured in the most famous photograph of modern times. That moment proclaimed the triumph of good over evil, of freedom over oppression. More than 230 years have passed since the Second Continental Congress adopted the Stars and Stripes as the flag of the United States of America. Tonight, let us commit to always honor our flag and protect it. Protect it from enemies without and within who seek to diminish its honor, lower its stature, or desecrate it in protest. Let us always remember the venues over which Old Glory has proudly flown. From Fort McHenry to Antietam and San Juan Hill, from the Argonne to the beaches of Normandy and the seas of Midway, from Busan to Chulad, from Kuwait City to Kabul and Baghdad, from the surface of the moon to Main Street, USA, to the tomb of the unknown soldier at Arlington National Cemetery. In 1954, the Knights of Columbus was instrumental in strengthening our Pledge of Allegiance by working to get the words "under God" included in the pledge. When signing the bill enacting that change, President Eisenhower thanked the Knights for their efforts. I urge you to treasure those words in the pledge, "under God," for even today there are those who would seek to remove them. I invite you to rise and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now let us honor those broad stripes and bright stars that inspired Francis Scott Key in 1814 to pen the words that would become our national anthem. Please join in the singing of our national anthem. You may be seated. In May 1920, Reverend Father Mahoney, our Knights of Columbus chaplain I spoke of earlier, made a stirring Memorial Day speech that included a poem in honor of the American flag. Nearly 90 years later, his words still hold great power and meaning. I would like to introduce Sir Knight William Frere to represent Father Mahoney's time-honored words.
The poem is entitled Hope, Truth, and Sacrifice. Heaven itself is unfurling the flag of the land we love, and I hear Columbia telling her children the story of how the flag came to be. In the blood that they gave for the cause of right, 1,000 true martyrs lay, and the angel that tends on heroes' souls came down at the close of day, to gather them in and to carry them before the Lord of all. Then, as over their forms she kindly stooped, her snow-white wings let fall on the ground that their blood had incarnated, and it left on them a stain. She feared that the Master would chide her when she came to his presence again, because on those wings once so undefiled now glowed that crimson stain. But as she passed on through the evening skies, the souls to her bosom clung, She tore from the skies a bit of blue, and over her shoulders flung that azure so deep that was star begemmed in thought perhaps it might, when she came to the throne of the Master, hide the stain of blood from sight. So she lay at his feet, those heroes' souls, and bent low with wings outspread. And he saw that those wings were star-sprinkled, blue and white and bloody red. He asked what it meant, why the wings were stained. In fear the angel said, "Oh, the red is the blood that these heroes spilled. The blue is your own fair sky, and with it I have sought to hide the stain, lest it displease your eye." "The stain on your wings," he answered her, "is truly a blessed one, and is always the mark of a crimson tide that for liberty has run. For it tells of service and sacrifice, of a life and a death or right. And the blue speaks of hope, the white is truth, sends forth a welcome light, to gleam for mankind as for travelers' beams, the building star of night. Spread out your wings over the universe, that all who behold may see the flag that speaks of love, truth, and hope, the virtues that make men free. That flag is flying free today, and in the name of God, who first sent the breezes down from heaven to lovingly caress its folds, and in the name of your country's dead, who gave their blood to dye its bars of red and unfading crimson, keep it always flying.
Title IV of the United States Code says, quote, "The flag, when it is in such condition that is no longer a fitting emblem for display, should be destroyed in a dignified way, preferably by burning," end quote. Throughout the year, the Knights of Columbus collects worn flags for the purpose of giving them a dignified retirement. I now ask our faithful navigator, Tom Getz, to examine a representative sample of our retirement class to ensure it indeed meets the criteria set out in the flag code.